So you want to be thinking of it like every single situation that you go into, you're giving value and getting value. And so you also get value because the mere process of going into situations and just trying to light up the room is actually very grounding and gives you a lot of present energy as well. So just going into, say, a party and getting everybody having fun, that connection to being present is like an infusion or download of good energy, which then gives you more clarity, it gives you more present energy, it gives you perspective, you're not trapped in your head. I can tell you, I'd be going through like horrible times financially back in the day during like crazy economic crisis, and I'd feel like the world is ending. I go out to a bar or club, and just one night of just laughing with people and having fun was like that little window of presence to kind of put me back in a more balanced state, not be so negative or pessimistic. And when you don't have those little outlets of presence, and you've been kind of in the soup of negativity for too long, and there's never been a break, much like what we were talking about earlier with trauma release, which is another way of doing that is so potent, basically what winds up happening is that there's never a break, and it builds and builds and builds. And what winds up happening is that you lose discernment, because like we were talking about, what is discernment? You have the full picture of life, you have the better parts, and then you have the worst parts, right? You could have like a whole list. Good thing number 1, good thing number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 good things, 2 possible problems. If you're in a negative state all the time, your mind will lock in on the 2 possible problems, amplify them, have misweighting bias, blow them out of proportion. They should have been things that you should have been solutions-oriented to fix, but they shouldn't be dominating your thoughts, and then you're missing the other 8 opportunities. You want to have a balance in defense and offense. So you lose perspective, and you've got to be doing presence-building activities. Laughter, having fun, adding value. Why do they say to do charity? It gets you out of your small little world. You get a download of presence from it. So when you go out, you're going to be doing the following things. A, the act of doing the process itself is actually infusing you with mental stability. That's if you're not somebody who's like, I need everyone to like me and I hate my life, which some people do, in which case they get mental instability. But if you do it properly and you celebrate the small wins and you stick with the process, it is also going to allow you to meet people who really, really like you, and you have some kind of direct exchange. That's, of course, that's like if you're drilling for oil, that's like the blob of oil that's just right there, like that, right? But then the shale is, okay, you meet somebody, they're kind of into you, but not that much. They give you social proof, they give you referrals. At a low level, they actually provide to you grounding, just mental muscles to deal with not everyone liking you, and strengthening a healthy relationship to approval, combined with critical feedback. And you can do self-examination. So that basic idea is the same thing as looking at every single situation and looking to optimize every single situation that you're in. And the base level of it, like Eckhart Tolle would say, is that your primary purpose in life is to stay present. So as you're doing this, you don't want to be in this creepy value taker mode where you're just going take. You want to be adding. That's your foundation. Say the word foundation. Foundation. Say adding value. Adding value. Is my foundation. It's my foundation. Adding value is my foundation. Right? Why is that? Because what it does, much like in trauma healing, is that it gets it to where you have that baseline of being present. It's better for discernment. You see reality more accurately when you do that. Okay? So then what happens is, from that standpoint, you're gaining things out of life, but you want to be looking at everything like this. So a simple example would be this. Say you're going to go to the gym. What do? You're driving to the gym. What should be happening on your drive to the gym? These are basic ideas, still basic. Drive to the gym. What do?
Listen to music.
Could be music because that's presence infusing. I like that. What else?
Visualize your workout.
Could be visualizing it. What's another obvious one for driving?
Get present while driving.
Get present while driving. What's another, the main one for driving? Audible. Surprised that none of you guys got that one. Okay, that's like the most low-hanging fruit. Okay, you're educating while you're driving. So you're asking yourself, how can I get more out of this? Okay, people don't get wealthy by sitting there just doing, exchanging time for dollars, doing one basic thing. People that get successful are looking at things like 4D chess. And so, if you're going to a bar or club, what you would be doing is you'd be going out, you'd be meeting people, which is then allow you to work on your social skills, allow you to work on communication, giving you a fun night, letting you make networking connections, not just attraction, but networking. It's allowing you to become more funny, to become sharper socially, to get better social awareness, to have a beautiful little break during your week, to have a beautiful experience of life. It's allowing you to also meet people who maybe could become your spouse, who you could maybe have children with, and including having experiences to see what you like and you don't, because you've got to get those experiences. It is also something where you are maybe using it for social media. Maybe you meet somebody at the club and you make a little social media post with them, so now you're getting more out of it. You don't just have to walk away. You can do a fun, maybe someone's not that into you, but you make a funny little social media video together, and now it provides what? Social proof. They now follow you, it's another follower, there's social proof in your little video, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I even get it where if I'm on Instagram, I might trade follows with them and see who they follow. Guess what? If you got enough, they follow you probably have some mutual friend. Look, we have a mutual friend, even though you barely even know that mutual friend either. And so you say, hey, let's send them a little video. You show that you're friends. Now you invite them to a party. They gave you social proof on Instagram. They give you social proof at a party. Maybe they bring friends, et cetera, et cetera. So the analogy is, how can you look at anything that it is that you're doing and stack more value in it? In entrepreneurship, what you do is you build a skill set until you get to the point that you can hire for that skill set and make more money doing something else. That's the idea, right? So for example, if you run a business, let's say that me and you are business partners, and we run a business, and I catch you doing the dishes, I view that metaphorically, not literally, but metaphorically as embezzlement from the business. Because if we can hire somebody for $12 an hour to do the dishes, and you can make 13, or even if you can make $12 and half a cent, you should be hiring that out, and then you're making more money. Right? That's called building systems. And there's many different businesses that have a scalable concept, and there's businesses that do not. If you don't have something scalable, then you don't really have a business, you have a glorified job. The idea of business is scaling, multiple ROIs. Say the word scaling. Say the word multiple ROIs. Okay, so for example, take us as instructors. Let's say, for example, that I'm gonna drive up to Seattle, okay? So I'm in LA, I drive to Seattle. On my way there, I come with Sid. We get out the cameras, we record videos at little stops. That shows lifestyle. So now we're showing videos with lifestyle and different stimulus. Do you guys like how I do different stimulus in the videos? Yeah. Do you like seeing different locations? Yeah. How big of a deal is that for you?
6 to 7.
6 to 7%, right? So how do you feel about that compared to a white wall?
It makes it way better. Yeah, it does make it.
So different opinions, right? And by the way, some people more spiritually connected, like the shot. Some people less spiritually connected, but are more brass tacks, like the white wall, because they don't really care. They want the content. Depends where you're at. But we have an audience of people that are very tapped in. There's a huge component of our audience that has that. Don't worry if you're not. We're here to help you too. And also, each side should learn more from the other side. So that's all part of the learning. So let's say that I drive up. What have I done? A, what I've done is I've got video and different stimulus. B, I've enjoyed my life, because what's the point of living life? You can't enjoy it just to work all the time, make money, and die. So now I've actually incorporated that. Another thing is that I'm having life experiences that is giving me insight, and in these environments they inspire me, and I shoot the videos. Then I'm also getting better at shooting the videos. I'm becoming better as a public speaker. I'm becoming a better communicator. I'm getting the point that I could be at a seminar like this, and the content that I invented on the road, I can now use in a seminar here. Maybe I can use that same content, put it in a product. I can repackage it, improve it, put exercise on it, and put it in a product. So there's got to be multiple ROIs. Maybe the ideas that I workshop here, I improve on, polish, put in a product, better organize. But there has to be multiple ROIs. So life is about what? Repeat it after me. Multiple ROIs. Say that.
Multiple ROIs.
Say the word building systems.
Building systems.
Okay? And so if you can't think strategically like this, if you have an inability to think strategically, you are stuck as a wage slave. You are stuck as trading time for dollars. You are one of those people that if I say, hey, come and work with me, your brain goes, but wait a minute, I make $2,000 a month. I can't work with you because if I work with you, I make $2,000 a month, and I don't even know how I'd make that back. I don't know how I'd get an ROI on that, so it sounds really cool, but I can't do it because I'd be broke. And you know what? I get it. So that's why I'm going to teach this to you here for free, and I'll see you next year. It'll be more expensive then and harder to get in, but I'll see you next year. So here's what you do. You've got to start looking at your life, and let's give some classic examples. If you are a parking attendant or work at a fast food restaurant, which by the way, they're going to replace all that with robots soon. Well, that's another video. Like people driving around Ubers, funding the creation of technology that'll be in self-driving cars and eliminate their job. Okay, done. So now going from there, if you work as a parking attendant, or if you work as an Uber driver, or if you work as a fast food person, what do you do in all your spare time? How do you optimize ROI? Tell me quick, come on.
Listen to a book.
Okay, listen to a book. Now this is a bit bad, but you'd find some way to sneak something in your ear and you'd be educating yourself nonstop. What else did you do? Same thing with going to clubs, by the way. Great thing you could do. What is it?
DM people.
What is it?
Connect with people.
Okay, what you could do is you could actually make a commitment to talk to people and add value. Make them laugh, engage them, work on your social skills. You could also make little connections here or there. You could challenge yourself to make connections to people who come in. What if you work at McDonald's? You could challenge yourself to get better and more efficient at working straight through. Look, I am the way that I am because I've been delivering newspapers since the 4th grade. How old is 4th grade again? It's like 9 years old. When I was 9 years old, I was spending 2 days delivering what's called the penny saver to 400 people-ish, maybe 270 to 420, depending on the year. And I had 400 newspapers-ish out, and they each had about 15 or 20 what's called an insert. And I had to sit there in my garage with all these newspapers out, putting in insert after insert after insert, and it was very slippery. I'm 9 years old in the snow in Canada. Okay, this is my when I was a boy story. When I was a boy, but when I was a boy, that's what I did. What did that teach me? It showed me how to lock in and pay attention. I deliberately did things over the years, like I read really, really hard classical literature, incredibly challenging. You have to read several interpretation books to understand classical literature in many cases. You have to take courses on it. Why did I do that? Why? Because you have to train your mind to have extended focus. The mind needs to be challenged to have extended focus. So if you're working at McDonald's, what can you be building while you're getting your tiny little joke of a check? Which is still honest work, by the way. Still honest work. But what do you do while you're getting your check? You got a little Audible book in your ear. You're practicing engaging people. You're practicing staying focused. You're practicing delivering results. Look, you might have a jerk boss that can't see all the work that you're doing. That's human nature. But you might also have somebody that likes what you're doing. It just depends. Either way, what you put into it is what you get out of it. If you go into that environment like a McDonald's and you let it demoralize you, and you get to the point where you're like most people, where you are trying to do the least amount to get the most amount back, and you go in that paradigm, you're going to be there for life. Human beings are optimizers. We will either optimize to get better at things and make more money at things and be more successful at things, or we will optimize to be as lazy as possible and for leisure. We'll optimize for one or the other. You'll see staff members where they go off the rails and you can tell they're demoralized and they're literally optimizing to get off work as quick as possible. You ever see George Costanza? He's in Seinfeld and he starts hiding under the desk in the day. You ever see that Seinfeld? Yeah, in the cubby, right? George is hiding under there with magazines. He realized that he can literally just do nothing and get away with it. And like the boss's kids come in, they see him under the cubby, they're pointing at him, he's hiding. It's really funny. So you'll get staff members like that. You will literally find staff members that are doing that when you run a business. It's like really, really sketchy stuff, but you realize that without the right systems of monitoring them, they've actually optimized to do as little as possible. And once they make that shift, it's done. If you make that shift, that you're not optimizing, and you're coming at work like that, I'm not saying you've got to be like this 24 hours a day, but if you want to have the kind of work ethic that you've seen from instructors up here at this event, where we can teach, you ask me, I have so much energy, it's shaking out of my hands. I have more energy than I know what to do with. I never run out, never. I mean, eventually my body runs down to some extent, but spiritually to my mind, I'm always right there and lucid. Okay, it takes a lot of missed nights of sleep to go past that. Then I get a little crazy. But it takes a long time. Where did that come from? Newspapers. Then I got a better newspaper route, by the way. Same thing, I got a better one. Then all the things I did through high school, through college, and building this. So you'll notice, like, it's way past hours right now. I can go home. Why am I sitting here? I'm sitting here because it's a workout. This is me at the gym. This is me at the gym. Okay? So you want to think of it like when you go to the gym, you're putting in work, you're building stamina. Why do I talk very quickly? Why do I think very broadly? Because I'm challenging my mind to see the bigger picture, make connections, and to lock it in focus. What's going to happen right now is that there is a warfare against attention. There is a warfare against social skills. It is a warfare. There is a direct assault on your attention span. There is a direct assault on your ability to add, on your being inspired to add value. You are being told that your country sucks. You are being told that you suck. You are being told that you're against people. You are being given high stimulus entertainment and having it shoved down your throat. You are being given food that depletes attention. You are living in a home that probably has streetlights coming in through the window that's making it where you can't even sleep deeply at night. It is insane. It is a full-on assault on your attention span and your focus. Repeat after me, time is money. Say that.
Time is money.
Okay, people that are successful, they value their time above all else. But here's a nuance. Another one is say the word momentum is money.
Momentum is money.
Correct. The other one is say focus is money.
Focus is money.
Okay, so for example, let's say you have a significant other and you're trying to get into momentum with your business and they keep distracting you. What you're going to notice is it's not just the time they burn down, it's taking you out of momentum. It's taking you out of momentum. If you see me up here on stage, you know, after an hour, I'm in a high momentum state. I'm getting creative. I'm getting lucid. My mind is switched on. That in and of itself is as important as the time itself. Extended focus is as important as the time itself. So that ability to focus. Every dollar that I ever made that's significant at all was me locking in a state of momentum and focusing. If I can create the time to go out in the forest and spend 3-4 days just shooting, the videos get better, 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 better. If I invest the time to do an event here and I lock in and I keep doing seminar, the speech gets better, 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 better. Because I'm locked in, I'm in a momentum state, I'm in a focus state. Notice how easily I'm able to riff like this. This is the mode, mentally, that you want to be sinking in to get rich. This is the mode that you want to be sinking in mentally to be better socially. This is the mode where you're going to add value. Try competing with somebody. Have someone compete with you when you're in a high momentum state, your time is managed well, and you've got extended focus. Good luck. Good luck. Now add to that you're coachable. You're actually taking feedback actively and coachable, and you have no ego. Say the word coachable.
Coachable.
Again.
Coachable.
Again.
Coachable.
Again.
Coachable.
Say no ego.
No ego.
Again.
No ego.
Again.
No ego.
Again.
No ego.
So in other words, you get dopamine from being better than people, saying, I'm better than them. I don't need help. I've already got this. Is that where you get dopamine?
No. No.
You're not getting it, guys. Where do you get dopamine from? Results. Process itself and results. The joy of the process and having the result. Most people will never take the kind of coaching that you saw here this week. But you know what? They're stuck. They are absolutely stuck. They're not coachable and they are stuck. So it's about getting in momentum. It's about managing time, managing focus, managing momentum, building systems, scaling, multiple ROIs, being coachable, and caring about the love of the process and caring about getting the result. You see where I'm going with this? Yeah. Now, if you take this mindset and you scale, it is such a change. And your income is very likely, at least I can speak anecdotally with myself and the people that I work with, your income shoots through the roof. But there's a reason why you're unable to get this, and here is what it is. A lot of this, and it's going to sound nuts, but you got to roll with me here as at least a thought experiment, is spiritual. In other words, you're not ready to receive that level of awesomeness. You couldn't handle it that you were, had a significant other and people that are in your life that you're so attracted to. You couldn't handle the fact that your finances taken care of. You couldn't handle the fact that you had less stress. You couldn't handle the fact that you're in some beautiful outdoor environment. You couldn't handle being at Vail or being at Jackson Hole or being in Tahoe, skiing down a mountain, seeing nature, being with friends and family, watching them smile, having life be easy, the joy of life, laughing, being positive, still assessing risk and taking action. You can't handle it. You can't handle the truth, right? You can't handle it. And the reason why you can't is because you want to live in this weird reality of trading time for dollars, and you want to do what's called discretionary spending. Your spending goes in what's called the land of lost socks, not on things that invest in yourself. I'll take a ginseng every month. That's $1,500. That's a long way to go to take, a 100-year-old ginseng or 50-year-old ginseng, to the point where you're so used to investing in yourself, you buy a 1-month bottle of pills or droppers for $1,500. That's a weird feeling. Some people like to do NAD infusions. It costs a couple $1,000. That's a weird feeling to double down and gamble on yourself that much that you would go spend $2,000 on a health infusion of some kind, or work on things like getting a spa membership so you have more energy or things like that. That's a long way to go with self-investment to the point where you care about yourself that much. But that means that you love yourself. Say, I love myself.
I love myself.
So what this means when you love yourself is that you invest in yourself. Say the word invest in yourself.
Invest in yourself.
Okay, and then from there you want to be in a state of what's called massive action. Say massive action.
Massive action.
So coming from that standpoint of massive action, you're always in an action-based state. Now, I'm going to show you what you don't want. I'm going to show you what you want. What you do not want is to be in a state of massive action to the point that you get so addicted to working that eventually when the sunshine starts coming through, you can't even let it land. And that happens to a lot of people, by the way. It is incredibly, incredibly common. So you don't want to be that workaholic person. Rather, you want to balance it with, on one level, being in a state of massive action, time management, focus management, momentum, all that. But at the same time, you've got to also be able to stop. Okay, there's a reason why in the Bible it talks about taking a day off for worship. You got to be able to stop. And you got to be able to actually get that presence. Because if you don't do that, if you don't stop, then what winds up happening is your discernment gets messed with. Because what happens is that the tail starts to wag the dog. Say that with me. Tail wagging the dog. We'll do it again. Tail wagging the dog. Again. Tail wagging the dog. What that means when the tail is wagging the dog is that you get a parasitic energy in your brain to where you are so used to being in this hustle or momentum mode all the time that what winds up happening is that it will actually become an addiction. So imagine this, okay? Think of how addictive heroin is. Very, very addictive, right? People die over it. Well, emotions are equally addictive. Imagine a heroin junkie if they could just have a thought and unleash heroin whenever they want. What would happen to their brain? I want you to really let this land, please. If you could take this, life change. What would happen to that heroin junkie's brain if just by having a thought they could release heroin? They'd have a thought, heroin, thought, heroin, thought, heroin, thought, heroin. And then what would happen? The mind would start looping on heroin, and it would actually eventually get its own momentum to where the consciousness, here's the key, the consciousness would recede, the proactive consciousness would recede, and it would get its own flywheel effect, and it would become a parasitic entity. The consciousness would recede. Basically, it would swallow their soul. Any core essence of proactivity, anything that you could imagine going on after the death of the body is snuffed out. That's the idea of Satan taking souls as the metaphor. It is massive. There's a reason why people say put God first, because it prevents these little flywheels when you connect and identify and merge in that creative energy. And when you and that's really what the Bible is saying, but people can't get that, and they get hung up on like Noah's Ark or Genesis or something. They're not actually seeing that what the Bible is showing you is how to stop those flywheels from snuffing you out at a core essence level. And so you will see as you get older, your friends get weirder and weirder. They get very weird. And they will start losing discernment and become really weird because that flywheel takes over because they didn't put God first. If you don't believe in God, that's fine. Well, then put the energy of being present first. Put the energy of creation first. Put the energy of just connection to life and giving first. I don't want to get hung up on the details of it. But that is how you prevent the flywheels. So as you're in the state of massive momentum, you also want to be plugging into the idea of contribution, of being more, of expanding, of adding to life. And if your mind is looping on this taker mode all the time, even though you got to know how to receive, because what I just tell you paradoxically, you're like the shale machine, getting the oil, massive ROI, scaling, rah! Okay, I'm saying that. But that's the paradox, because on the other hand, what you're also doing is you're also giving, and that prevents the parasite. That's why they tell you to take a day off. And by the way, you will hear this and you will blow it off. You're not ready for this. It takes you years to be ready for this. It's after you've watched many friends turn super weird, you've watched some of your best friends become basically impossible to even communicate with, and you see people go down again and again and again into weirdness and into a cloud, and they get swallowed up, and then you see yourself doing it. That is when you will realize the truth of what I'm saying. Right now, I know you would skip all that to make an extra $100 a month if you're new. I get that. I understand. I was the same way. You'd skip that to have somebody nice, to go back home to. Right now, I get it. That's fine. But take this in mind too. What I'm showing you here is a general perspective, though, of how to live life. Now, in doing so, I want you to notice a couple of other things. Why is it that my energy increases when I'm sitting here speaking to you? What is my energy management, okay? I sometimes call this endless motivation. Where is this coming from? What am I doing? You've seen it a couple days in a row now. Why is it that I walk in here even a little bit tired, and then by the end of it, my energy is ramped? What is going on? There's a flywheel that's happening. What is the flywheel?
Legacy.
It's that. What else?
Presence.
Presence. What else?
Contribution.
Okay, contribution. What else? Okay, here's what's happening. By me not trying to take and me looking to give, the problem with when you take is you never quite get what you want. It's very, very up and down. You ever go out to a bar club and like some people like you, some people don't, and it's very up and down, and if you identify with that or get hung up on it, you go home exhausted. You go home exhausted. You go home exhausted. That's why people quit on it, by the way. They get very negative on it. They go home exhausted. They have these different fatigues. Some of them that I call them is willpower fatigue. Like, should I say hi? Should I not? And just the act of thinking, stopping is like turning a car on, off, backwards, forward. It tires you out. Persona fatigue. You go in there trying to put on a persona, and it tires you out. Self-judgment fatigue. You don't get exactly what you want. It tires you out. What if you just went in there to add value, but also to get multiple ROIs in a smooth way that is win-win? Flowing out, receiving. Flowing out, receiving, like a beautiful river. Instead of this kind of kinked up river. What happens is that when you get it, and this is also like, I'm saying things to you that again, you'll be in the room, you're gonna hear it, you're gonna go cool, whatever, and you're gonna see a video of this in 20 years, and you're gonna start screaming and shrieking that you were in the room for this and you didn't hear it. I can even say this to you now, you can't hear it because it's not within your paradigm, it's too far past your paradigm so you can't hear it. Here's what I'm gonna tell you, this is gonna be so weird, you're not gonna get it, but that's okay because I'm just planting a seed. It's like your parent telling you something when you're 3. I know it's a bit condescending, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to help you here. So what it is imagine a flowing river. Can a flowing river get brackish and this kind of festering rot in the river? No. Why doesn't the flowing river get this brackish, festering rot? Why?
Flowing.
It's flowing. Say that word, flowing.
Flowing.
So now, what happens if right beside that river, there's this weird little kind of brown puddle, and in that weird little brown puddle, it's not flowing? What happens in the brown puddle? The word brown should be the obvious tip. Okay, it gets brackish, these bugs, stagnant, all this crappy, whatever, I don't know, whatever you call it, right? So what happens is that when you identify with just the ego, you separate from the flow. And now that makes you the target for all those little flywheels that it was that I talked about. That is what pollutes your consciousness, and that is where, even like in Star Wars, the analogy of when, say, the Emperor goes to the dark side is his face gets old. It ages you. So you'll notice that their body is aging. You can see my body aging. But at a core essence level, you'll see it actually strengthening and building. So you've got to understand what that core essence is. Anything that you do in life that is not building your core essence to some level is a waste of your time and is running your wheels in the mud. Sometimes you got no choice. That's just the truth. You have pragmatic parts of life, and that's life. Don't be like so stubborn that you can't do something that doesn't grow my essence, so no, right? Don't do that. Okay, that is stubborn. That's actually making an identity out of being a woo-woo person anyway. But if what you're doing isn't growing that core essence, and it's just building flywheels, it is snuffing you out at a core essence level. One quick point on this I mentioned before. Imagine you died today, okay? Now, let's look at where you put your mental capital. I'm just going to do this quickly. I've taught this a lot in the past. If you died today, where do most of your thoughts go? Let's look at this. What would be biological drives? Repeat the word biological drives.
Biological drives.
I'm hungry, I'm cold, I'm hot, I'm aroused, I need to go to the bathroom. How much of your thought process just day to day goes into just the maintenance of your biology? It's a tremendous amount. Another one is ego gratification. I'm cool, I'm not cool. Say the word ego gratification. Yeah, I'm cool, I'm not cool. What do they think of me? That wasn't fair, blah, blah, blah. Approval. Another one is social conditioning. Say that.
Social conditioning.
In other words, I am programmed to say this. I align with the tribe. Look at me. I'm a good little boy or girl. Robot. I'm a stormtrooper, man. Going from there. Now, another one is also addictions. If you're addicted to a certain emotion, that's running your thoughts. If you're addicted to being negative, that is taking over your thoughts. Those thoughts are not your own. That is autopilot emotional addiction. Say the word autopilot emotional addiction.
Autopilot emotional addiction.
Okay, another one is the bandwidth of your status. At a certain point, you have a status blueprint in your mind, and just like in the Brave New World, I can't even remember what it was. I should look this up because I keep fudging this. It's like, I am an epsilon. Epsilon's like this kind of thing. The delta likes this kind of thing. That's my taste because I am that, like that. More autopilot. So when you think about it, given how much of your mental dialogue day to day is based on your status and conforming to status, based on conforming to social conditioning, based on addictions running your mind in flywheels, based on acclimating and resolving biological drives, based on ego gratification, and so on and so forth. How much of any of this is even really you? How much is you? What would happen when you die? You think you go to heaven? What would go to heaven? The body's dead. The ego in the little neural net in the mind is dead. Where is there anything to go on? That is what Satan is. It snuffs out your soul. There's nothing left. Now, I'm going to show you how to change that. So go do something like, say, meditation, where you're not doing anything to get anything. You're just present. Go into a hot, here in Seattle, Banya 5. Go into Banya 5. Super hot Russian Banya. Then you go in a cold plunge. Maybe take a cold shower. Meditation, uncomfortable. Hot Russian Banya, uncomfortable. Cold plunge, Wim Hof style, uncomfortable. Food fasting, uncomfortable. Here's another one for you. Repeat this after me. This is really intense. Helping an enemy. Helping an enemy, uncomfortable. Whoa. Try helping an enemy. You will get a download like you have never seen. You will be like, oh, like it is trippy. It is trippy. Charity, giving things away. Another big one. This is major. You get ready for this? This is major. Let someone crap talk you and let them have it. This is a big one. Let someone trash you and let them have it. Go get rejected at a bar or club and be okay with it. Why? Because certain mental patterns is of the physical intelligence or the egoic intelligence. But a certain mental pattern is of the soul. It is of the infinite self. If you knew that you'd live forever, you'd give charity because you wouldn't care. If you knew that you're indestructible, you wouldn't respond to people dissing you because you wouldn't care. In fact, you'd like it because it connects you more to your essence. If you knew you lived forever, you wouldn't care if you helped an enemy or not. Right? You wouldn't care at all. If you knew you lived forever, you wouldn't care if you're in some sauna because you're connected to that core essence. So what happens is that when you do these uncomfortable things, and this is the analogy of Jesus carrying the cross, that the birth of the soul comes through that disidentification with the ego and the body. And what happens is that when you do this, you get a download of presence, okay? And then from that download of presence, you operate from there. You find where that is, and you operate from there. So in other words, when you're waiting in line and bored, that's actually a chance to get in your core essence. When you lose your keys and are so mad, that is a chance to get in your core essence. When someone insults you, that is a chance to get in your core essence. When you feel like you can't control everything and you just let that be there, that can get you in your core essence. And ironically, you're so much more resourceful that you wind up controlling it. When you feel unsafe, but you accept that, it puts you in your core essence, which then gets you to a higher level of consciousness and makes you more likely to be safe. When you stop worrying about approval, that puts you in your core essence, which makes you more resourceful and expansive, makes you more likely to get approval from many different people. You see how this goes? This is very, very subtle. But what you will see is that everything that we're learning all the time is meant to take us away from that. And soon the metaverse will be out. And what's going to happen is it is going to be that same flywheel, because it is going to be infinitely more interesting on the surface, even though it's snuffing you out, and it's going to be running and running and running. And imagine, instead, you remember I said earlier, it's like you could just loop on heroin until it makes a flywheel and the tail's now wagging the dog, your consciousness snuffed out. Imagine not the dorky phone version of the metaverse like the Oculus, but the one that's more real than real, the one that we could even be in right now, more real than real. And now all of a sudden, it's feeding you everything that you want. Where are you ever going to get a chance to connect to the soul? You're not. It's going to snuff out all the souls. That is what it is, by the way. That is what it is. It is the death of who you are. And you're literally going to see it. Like Exodus in the Bible, there's going to be a group of people that exit that system. And what's weird is it will look like a death cult because there's going to be life extension, and you can literally be like in the movie WALL-E, and this is coming. It's in our lifetime probably. And I've got to prepare my children not to go into this. And so what's going to wind up happening is you're going to get it, and this is getting crazy, and yet even though I'm saying it, you're like, that's actually happening, right? It's like I sound nuts, and it's actually happening. And so what's going to happen is it's going to look like a death cult because you're saying, no, I'm okay to let the body die eventually. I want liberation. I'm okay to let it die. And then be like, he didn't take a life extension. She didn't take a life extension. It's like a death cult. And then it's going to be like, why aren't you plugging in this weird metaverse thing, right? Whatever it's called by then, right? You know, look at you skiing. You tore your ACL. You tore your ACL skiing. You could die doing that. In the metaverse, you could ski even better mountains and not die. You see what's going on there? But it snuffs out the core essence. So the body is now trapped. The essence is trapped in the physical body. It runs out, expires, dies, snuffs out the soul. Ha, ha, ha. That is literally what it is. And there will have to be an exodus from that. That is why the second book in the Bible is called Exodus. It's also why in the book of Revelation, you see this thing about, having to have this little thing to buy and sell. What do we see recently? Okay, it's called the mark of the beast. I'm not making this up. Look up the mark of the beast. Look it up. I'm not making this up. Just go look it 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 up. Mark of the beast. Go look it up, and you will see what's going on, okay? What is the odds of that level of vision ahead of time? What is the statistical odds of that? You will see. So that is the idea of Exodus. It is the idea of saying, I'm not going to be a part of that system. Now, what will happen if you follow what it is that I'm telling you? In my experience, is you're going to make a lot of money. You're also going to have a lot of people into you. You're also going to have a lot of amazing experiences. And you're going to scale. It's going to have a lot of impact. But you're not going to be the person who, like, a lot of these goals, like say be a billionaire, or say it's like, I want to have like 100 kids, things like that. These are fancies of the ego. It's actually a way of snuffing out the core essence because it's not grounded in reality. It is a way to be better than another person rather than the real success. The real success is connecting to your essence and seeing and intuiting what is your life's purpose. And from there, that could be $1 billion. It could. But it could also be somebody who makes a bakery and serves a great cake, and you don't know what that is. but you will see that it is not what you just think it is. So you have to not disconnect from that. You will find what that core purpose is when you connect there. You will also find that you can speak, your voice resonates. You're able to free associate. You think more laterally. You think more broadly. You're very solutions oriented. You're able to see things that are more positive, and you go up and up and up from there. So now what happens is you wind up happier, you wind up getting more, you wind up adding to life, you wind up being successful, but not in a way that feeds the sick system, being a part of the establishment and feeding a sick system, but rather you're somebody who's a countervailing force to that, to adding value in the world, and then you can also teach that to your children, and you can be a force for good while becoming successful and while getting what you want. But ultimately, you have that core foundation of being fulfilled anyway, and it's the movement through that that makes you feel good. Many people say that if you were to meditate, you'd stop being motivated. If you were to meditate, you wouldn't want to do anything. If you love yourself, you'd stop. No, they're not getting it. They're mistaking that for something called apathy and laziness. Oh, I'm good enough. No, you know what you got to do? Hate yourself. Say you suck. That'll motivate you, your own hatred for yourself. You know, it's about biology, competing, winning. We live in a world where people are always against each other. True, but they're not embracing the paradox. They are 1,000% correct. That's why when you hear it, you're like, that's true. It's certifiably true. But there's another paradigm beyond it. It's true within a paradigm. And you have that paradigm, then you have the paradigm that I'm talking about, and then you have paradigms beyond that. And the rules change. The rules change. So whenever I'm teaching you, understand that what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to hit you at a very, very, very high paradigm. And I'm not at the highest. I'm just showing you what I've learned at 42. But I'm trying to hit you at a high paradigm. And I'm trying to reverse a lot of the direction that your life is going, which is not serving you, and get you on the right track. That's the goal. So is what I'm saying making sense?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions about it? And no question is too dumb. There's no dumb questions, only dumb people.
I don't
Okay.
When you talk about tapping into your pure essence, can you go more into
Start doing those practices of deprivation and discomfort, and notice when it starts to feel not like in an S&M way, like, yeah, not that, but like a peace that comes from letting go. It's what you learned earlier here. Tap into that, and then learn to allow your mind to stay there and see what comes through. It will come through. Yep.
Do you find discernment is more so in the mind and questioning, or it's coming from that higher?
It is in the mind, but then, and there's layers to it, because there's the intellectual component of discernment and seeking out other mentors and all that, but then there's an inner intuition. Now see, this is where, and great question, people say the answers are not outside yourself. Go within. Just go within. Use your intuition. Somebody where they're in a flywheel effect and the tail's wagging the dog, their intuition is not to be trusted whatsoever. You're telling somebody in a flywheel that are not even control themselves that they should trust themselves. That's not true. So at the level of intellect, what you want to do is you want to have mentors and other people helping you. But then as you learn to tap into that core essence more and more and more, it is a combination of great mentors and information and being challenged, but also how your intuition and that core foundation is actually engaging with that, and then the answers become more obvious. And by the way, though, the real success, and there's a reason why, again, Jesus dies on the cross at the end, and that's the ultimate victory, is it is the rejection of the sick system. It is a rejection, in his case, of what he called performative ethics, performative spirituality. In this day and age, they call that virtue signaling, where you're not actually looking at what's right or wrong, you're just pandering to a group. The idea in the Bible was the idea that Jesus has the Pharisees that don't care if they're good or bad, they're just a religious establishment that put on rituals that could actually absolutely have a place. They're cool rituals, but they're using that to shame people, using that to control people. They're not really good, and what Jesus says is you're blocking them from going to heaven. You who claim to be a religious establishment are snuffing out people's souls. The emphasis has to be on, like they say in the Sermon on the Mount, who you actually are. That is what in 2022, that is what a Christian cross means. It is not what it would have meant 5 years ago or 10 years ago. It has an added context. Still means the same thing, but it has an added context, which is you reject performative ethics. You reject just agreeing with some weird group to get status to be in your body. It means that you go into your core essence and look to what is good. You go to classical teachings of ethics that have actually built beautiful civilizations, although have had problems. There's problems in them too. Very real criticism of that, some bad archaic stuff in there. But the overall message, not throwing out the baby with the bathwater, that you go back to that. And that is actually to get shamed. Now, by the way, Christianity was used to shame people for many, many years, wasn't it? And that's why a lot of people are triggered by it when your parents are smacking you with a stick saying, read this. And you're like, I hate this. This is some stupid fairy tale that is designed to get me a smack on the hand, to control me, to shame me. A great way to control people is to shame them. You got to come to me for your sins. You don't even have any value. You're not even selling a sandwich, but you say, I'll fix your sins. It's like selling air. And that's where the scam is in religion, isn't it? Is that it can be selling air. What's that? What is that?
They call it dogma.
A dogma, but also look at the scam. Oh, I don't have to produce anything. I don't even produce a piece of bread, but I'll fix your sins, right? And I'll shame you. It's a great way to frame control. And that's the downside of it. But that was the exact opposite message. But people don't look at that. And they never even read it properly. You've got to be able to read beneath the esoteric text. It is an esoteric text written in code. And so as you tap in your core essence, it is actually written in code. And what will happen is when you read it, you'll find yourself crying a lot. You will cry a lot. If you're able to see the code, you will read it and you will be brought to tears a lot. And that's because you're going to see what you're doing and it's going to start flashing in front of your face. And that's when it says getting rid of sins. The sin itself is identifying strictly with the body, identifying strictly with the ego, and just purely taking and losing the ego. That's the ultimate sin, in my view anyway. And so what's happening, in my interpretation, and what's happening is that you'll see it and you'll begin to cry because you can see what you're doing and you can see how you've been under a lie. You can see how your mind has been in a parasite. You can see how you've been under a shroud. You can see how you're being spiritually attacked. You'll see it, you'll start crying, and you'll be infused with energy. This is not as weird as it sounds. Any layman can do this if they follow what I'm saying here. You can go do this tonight. Look up David Suchet. David Suchet, say that with me.
David Suchet.
Okay, it might be Suchet, I don't know. We'll go Suchet, David Suchet, okay, whatever it is, Suchet. And he's the Michael Jordan of reading that. Look up the Sermon on the Mount. Look it up. Don't let it shame you. Don't let it make you feel bad about yourself. That's not the message. But look that up and hold yourself to a higher standard. I've shown you now a way that you can decode this. So that is the esoteric text and what it means. Now, as you're moving through life, I want you to make a lot of cash. I want you to have a lot of success. I want you to do things. But again, it was the rejection of the system. It was saying, you will never take my soul. Better to be cast into hell. Or sorry, better to pluck your eyeball out than it be cast into hell was the idea. I probably misquoted that, but that's the idea, right? So understand that. If what you're doing is just choking your essence, then it's over. Now that said, where can this become a problem? For somebody who's advanced, somebody who has a spiritual growth background, this is easy stuff. I know yourself, you're in this, you're like, oh, cool. Yeah, whatever. That's cool. Sweet. It's a good speech, bro. Cool. I'm already doing it and cool. But for a lot of people, what it can do is now, like, you go to start a little business, it just like getting rid of my car essence. Oh, man, right? And stops you from doing anything. So if you don't understand what I'm saying, I've given you a broad range of things in the last couple of days, right? So you don't need to understand everything I'm saying. If this, like, connected deeply, great. If it doesn't, and you're like, dude, like, this is cool, like, I gotta do the laundry. Like, what is this, what are we doing now? Then that's also okay too. It's just planting a seed that can blossom later, right? We're each at our level of development. There are paradigms way far past what I'm discussing here, and I wouldn't understand them. Someone could come to me like, Owen, you gotta look at this. I'm like, yeah, but look, I'm doing my little speech on the essence thing, right? Yeah. Right, I don't get it. And later I hear it, I'm like, and that'll happen too. That's the beauty of infinity, is that you keep going up in paradigms, and you'll keep going up and up and up, and in order to do that, though, you've got to pass this test. You're in a test right now. You're in sort of a purgatory-ish type realm right now, and you're in a test. So you've got to start to get to the point where you have your own will. Okay, say the word your own will. Your own will. Which is why, how do you get your own will? You're not locked in that flywheel. You've got to get your own discernment. Say discernment.
Discernment.
And say your own independent access to flow.
Independent access to
Okay, that independent access to flow is the foundation, which then what happens is that you're in your own will. You have better discernment, you have better access to your own flow, will, discernment, flow, will, discernment, flow, will, discernment, flow. That core essence grows. And you'll feel it in your body. You'll feel like a light, euphoric feeling kind of pulsating out of your head. And the less you think, the more that your voice goes out. This is not a technique what you're seeing here, right? At home, they can't see it. I'm mic'd, it caps the sound. How would you describe to people at home what my voice sounds like right now compared to normal voice? Because people don't get to see it at home because it caps it.
11 out of 10.
Booming. Angelic. Boom. I'll take it. Yeah. Okay? So it's different in person, isn't it? Okay? Would you say that people don't get out to an event?
Yes.
Okay. So, right? Do I go late in the night?
Yeah.
Do I over-deliver? This is how I do it. I love this, okay? So you guys are like the last few people here. It's like they don't know. They're thinking this is like 7 p.m. at home, right? They don't know what time it is right now. So I just like to go late for fun. It's an exercise to me. It's me in the gym. So what I'm doing, I'm on my path because it is, you can tell what is this doing for me being here with you late?
Energized.
What is this doing for my core essence? What am I doing?
Right.
I'm growing it. This is like essence gym kind of thing, right? That kind of funny way to put it. And what you'll see is you can get this through entrepreneurship. You can get this through social skills. Now, me teaching this will never blow up mainstream. You will never see me like Tony Robbins in front of 20,000 people teaching this, most likely. Not in my lifetime. But I can put out the content and maybe the next generation or the next generation when people are ready for it. If anything, what things like this does is actually people could look at it and hate it and want to cause a problem. So be aware of that. Okay, when you're coming from that, because when you're coming from that level, and I'm not saying I'm perfect because I am not, I promise you, hang out with me long enough, but in aspiring to be at that level, what will happen is that people that are in that parasite mode will hate you. And I bet you, when you walk down the street, I bet you that on occasion, homeless people throw things at you. Does that ever happen?
Never had that, no.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you are a little bit louder and you actually talk and express that out to other people, somebody who's very deeply in the grips of the parasite, and it's like an octopus choking on them down, if you put that energy out, you will see people in dark energy like, F you, and throw something, like you'll see this. Right. You will tangibly see it. Because it's like they say in the Bible, they will hate you because of me. But it's not just that, is they will hate you because you are a threat to the parasite. Right. They will hate you. You know that you're over the target when the darkest, nastiest people in the world hate you. Okay? You can see how much somebody is tapped in by what sick little puke enemies hate them. What sick little puke enemies obsess over them. What sick little puke enemies can't stop thinking about them because the parasite hates it and the parasite wants to spread. High vibe energy, positive energy wants to spread. Low vibe energy, negative energy wants to spread. You ever been in a bad mood and then you just want to go maybe to like your significant other, somebody, you want to put that in them, you can feel yourself doing it, and then weirdly when you put it like in them by yelling, you feel better? You ever had it on the other hand where maybe you're in a great mood, maybe you're at a party and you feel so good you want to talk to everybody else? The high vibes want to spread. That's why when you feel good and you love yourself, you're actually even more motivated. It's just like when you're at a bar or club, you want to spread things. It's fun. You feed off it. It feeds your soul. People are like, no, that means you get lazy. No, that's called apathy. It's different from the highest paradigms. Totally different. It's a different paradigm. They're true with it. They're correct within a paradigm that loving yourself too much, accepting yourself too much can be demotivating if you're not tapped in. If you're just in the physical in your ego, you're like, oh, I love myself. I'm good enough. Well, then I'm done. When you're coming from essence, that is moving through you. And just like if you've been in a club and you're killing it, you just want to keep going. Just like me here, I've been having a great time. I don't want to go to bed. I'll let you guys go to bed soon, but I don't want to go to bed. I just want to keep going, okay? Some of you guys that joined in mentoring with me or taking live events with me, this is what I'll be bringing in the mentoring. This is what I'll be bringing in those events. It's going to be a lot of fun. And that is how you also are tapped into your real purpose, but it's also how you become one of the best in the world. How can somebody compete with you to be the best when you're tapped into that? It's very, very tough. So it allows you to become world-class, not the best, because who's the best, but it allows you to become one of the world-class people who's doing it at the highest level. But again, it can also disconnect you from people who are just like, I'm in take mode, I just need 3 funky tips. It disconnects from that because it's too abstract. But somebody who's moving that paradigm gets it. What's funny is somebody in a high paradigm can respect someone in a low paradigm. They're like, oh, that's where you're at. That's cool. But somebody in a low paradigm, whenever you talk about something high paradigm, they're like, I hate that. That's stupid. It's a whole lot of nothing. Because the parasite's running them, so it tangibly hates it, and they don't even know what they're doing. They have no idea what they're saying. They're completely clueless. And you'd even think in your mind, you're like, but if they heard the part where he's like calling them out as clueless, they'd hear that and get curious and rewatch it. They won't. They won't do it. I thought that. I actually used to take a hobby of meeting up with people like this and just seeing what I could do. And what you'll see is usually they reject it, but on occasion they'll actually be cool with you and they'll be really, really nice. But then in order to maintain them in that new paradigm, you have to be like calling them every day. You have to hold them in that paradigm. And if you withdraw for even a day and a half, you'll see it where they actually start saying horrific stuff. I could show you in my DMs. I've done experiments with this, where somebody will send me very demonic direct messages, like really, really dark stuff. And if I actually just talk to them for a little bit, they completely flip and they want to be like my best friend. And I do that. And I say, hey, maybe you could look at things in a different way. But if I even then put the phone down and don't hit them back until the evening, I will receive text messages like, they'll say things like they wish death on my children. Okay, like they'll say they'll wish death on my kids. Dark stuff. Why is it? It's a demon. It's a parasite running that's trying to reestablish. It's like, no, you're not letting them get away, and it puts them in dark hatred. And when you submit to that parasite, okay, when you submit to it and you let it take you over, you're now enslaved to it. So the parasite wants to get you doing things to harm others. It wants to trick you into harming others to enslave you to it. It enslaves you to it by getting you to take those actions. This is really, really dark stuff. This is what's, in my view, personally, is what is actually going on. It's this whole other bigger game that's happening under the surface, and we can sit there in our little rah self-help session and talk about making cash, but in reality, it's just running your wheels in the mud. So I've always enjoyed making a lot of cash. I've done over 100 million in sales. I've always enjoyed getting social skills. I've been having wild adventures with people for 20 years. I've been in the best clubs, live in fat cribs. I do all that stuff. It's a beautiful thing. But you realize over time, like, what is it that you're really doing? And if you're just running your wheels in the mud, what's the point? So you want to keep coming back to what is it that I'm really doing? If this stuff is past your paradigm, don't be like, I'm afraid to like start my business because what if the parasite? Don't be weird. It's not the boogeyman. Okay, fear of a parasite is in reaction to a parasite, which does what? Strengthens it. I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid of any of this stuff. I'm chill with it. I'm not any more afraid of it than I am of a car going by. What do you do when a car goes by? Just sit back. I'm not like, car, run. I'm just like, let the car go by. I don't want to get hit by it, but I just let it go by. Occasionally the car hits you. You know, occasionally you get a little bit of parasite going. I certainly do. Catch me on the wrong side of the bed one day. Yeah, you know, it's not like that too. I'm getting run too. The tail's wagging the dog on me. But that's okay. You don't have to be perfect. That's why you're still here on earth. You're not transcendent yet. So what happens is that don't be afraid of it. Just go, I don't like it. I don't resonate with it. I don't really care about it. I'm not feeding it. I'm not afraid of it. And then keep coming back to finding that core essence. So let's bring it back full circle then. You ready for full circle?
Yes.
Okay, so you find that foundation. I built towards this. You go back to that core foundation. From that core foundation, it is a combination between more giving and more receiving. Say more giving,
more giving,
more receiving.
More receiving.
So what you do is that you give more by being that anchor of present energy. You give more by adding to other people, by, you know, what did Eckhart Tolle say? Your primary purpose is to be present, and your secondary purpose, all the other things that come from there. Because if you don't have the foundation of presence, what happens? The things that you do are feeding a parasite, a flywheel, and are ill. Right, okay, at the end of the Bible, again, I'm misquoting this, so I'm misquoting it. It talks about, I am the vine. Look that passage up. I am the vine. Anything that you do, yeah, thank you. Right, it's like church today, right? My great-grandfather was a preacher in World War I and II. So that's in my DNA, okay? I'm just sharing with you what's in my epigenetics, okay? So he was out over there with like bullets flying by and he was preaching. So I'm naturally like that. You can probably sense that. That's in my DNA, okay? So the idea being, the idea of I am the vine, okay, I'll see if I can dig it up for you here too. I read this on loop, but sometimes it's just hard to memorize the exact quote. Okay, I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch of me that bears no fruit. While every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, so that we'll be even more fruitful. Each one of these lines has to be pondered, by the way, for a long time. I'm glazing over it. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me as I remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. If you do not remain in me, you are like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up, thrown in the fire, and burned. If you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples. As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Now remain in my love. If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commands and remain in his love. I've told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one more than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you my servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends, for everything that I learned from my Father I've made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you, so that you might go and bear fruit that will last, and so that whatever you ask in my name, the Father will give you. This is my command: love each other. If the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. If you belong to the world, it would love you as its own. As it is, you do not belong to the world, but I have chosen you out of the world. That is why the world hates you. Remember what I told you: a servant is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they will persecute you also. If they obeyed my teaching, they would obey yours also. They will treat you this way because of my name, for they do not know the one who sent me. If I had not come and spoken to them, they would not be guilty of sin. But now they have no excuse for their sin. Whoever hates me hates my Father as well. If I had not done amongst them the works no one else did, they would not be guilty of sin. As it is, they have seen, and yet they have hated both me and my Father. But this is to fulfill what is written in their law. They hated me without reason. When the advocate comes, whom I will send from the Father, the Spirit of truth, who goes out from the Father, he will testify about me. And you also must testify, for you've been with me from the beginning. And so the idea here, okay, and this is esoteric text. So you might be gaining things from this, or it might just sound crazy, okay, like a cult leader kind of. So you've got to be understanding what it is that you're seeing there, right? So I've given you and provided you here some context for when the word me is a reference to the embodiment of that energy of creation. And so it's that idea of I am the vine, it's the connection. And that is what rids you of the parasite. It gets you back to your will, it gets you back to your discernment, it gets you back to independent access to flow because you now have access to that. And when you have access to that flow and you are fulfilled, in the Bible they call it the Holy Spirit, when you have access to that, what it means is that now from a place of completion, you can make decisions. As long as you are a need and a lack, you might have felt that in, say, your dating life. You ever had it in dating life, you just need someone so bad and it's almost impossible to act normal? Like you can't even just tell a joke. You're like, I just want to tell a joke, but I can't. It sucks. Everything I say sucks because I need them. You see what happens, right? But you ever had it where you just felt so good that you call someone who you're dating and it's so smooth and it's so crisp? Maybe that happens in public speaking. Because when you have, what happens is that when you are tapped in, all that, and another big key, so please absorb, all this neurosis that is constantly running in your mind, the ongoing neurosis, what happens is that it shuts down. And you will realize how powerful you are when you are tapped in. It is by getting past the ego, transcending it, and even viewing the body as an indicator light for what to do, but not running you, even though it's a great indicator light and it's your temple right now. Then what happens is that you reclaim all that energy, and you will learn to do things like speak improvisationally, like what you see me doing here, not by technique. It is not a technique, although I have great exercise that I teach when I mentor, but it is not a technique. Rather, it is a state of being. So we have these different paradigms. It's called the have paradigm. Say that word, have paradigm. Okay, having, doing paradigm, being paradigm, right? So you'd say, oh, I can only public speak if I'm this good, either have or have not. Or I'm public speaking by doing a technique, or I'm public speaking by being. And so when you're seeing somebody up riffing late into the night, gaining energy from it, doing it effortlessly, and running like this, don't just take it as something for granted. Not that it's even supposed to be also great, but don't take it for granted. Let it land. Let the passages that I read to you land. And that's up to you. You can laugh at them. People can cut this video. Look at this, he's dummy. Like, they can do all that. That's okay. But you've got to see what resonates in truth with you. So there's the have or have not paradigm. Well, I don't look good enough. I don't have enough money, whatever, right? And then I can't be happy. I can't until I have. The doing paradigm. Well, I'm doing it now. I'm good because I'm doing something. And the being paradigm, where it just flows through you. It is not burning down energy. It's not making you tired. And this is how you get endless motivation. You have endless motivation. People say that when you love yourself, when you're tapped in, you wouldn't be motivated. Wrong. That's apathy. That's in the lower paradigm. In this paradigm, it is endless motivation where you're now in control. You have access, but in truth, you've aligned your will to your creator's will. And here's why ultimately. Because at the end of the day, there's always something running you. Say that after me. There's always something running you. And so that thing that is running you, it could be your ego, it could be your body, it could be social conditioning, it could be addictions, it could be little status maps, or it could be that tiny, tiny, tiny spark that is the part from that which created you. And why would we not want to identify with that which created us and gave us life? And that is that idea of aligning, being connected to the vine. But what will happen is that what you want in life will change, because from a space of inner fulfillment, from that space, you are now acting, and rather than being outside in, it is from an inside out, and you're moving through there. So you will see things differently, and what you view as a win will be different. And the ultimate win is rejecting the sixth system that will snuff out your core essence, that will extinguish your soul, and rather your soul grows. This is what the conclusions that I came to from 2 decades of working with clients up close and watching where they go. It is also a conclusion that I came to in dealing with billionaire clients one-on-one who pay me great rates, or multimillionaire clients, and watching as some of them died, some of them got addicted on drugs, many were miserable, and I also dealt with people who became just like low-level millionaires or people who had incredible, ridiculous social success. And I live in Hollywood, I live in the Hollywood Hills, and you will literally see it. You will actually see it where these super duper famous people, crazy famous, what winds up happening is you can see that their core essence is snuffed out. They're rich, they have dating opportunities, they've got all this stuff going, and they are dark, 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 okay? You want to see examples of that? You look at like these Weinstein situations that are dark, 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 where they're getting what they want in the physical, but it's snuffing them out at the soul. So what I'm saying to you right now, okay, what I'm saying to you, this is the real self-help in my view. I've just given you the real self-help. This should shake you up. This should make you cry. This should rattle you. This should be a big deal. But that's up to you. You can take it or not. Because the system itself will minimize this. The system itself will say, no, go back into your little crap. Watch our stupid shows and movies. Some of them are good, but you know my point, right? Listen to the music that we force down your throat. We will tell you what to do. It's just your life. Just your life. Do what we say. As long as the group is doing it, it's okay. Why was it the main message was this idea of rejecting the establishment? Why is it that the rejection of the establishment is viewed as perhaps the most important thing that you can do? Because the establishment is a system that is feeding on itself and has a certain type of power. But that power that it has is in this realm, right here. And so it's the idea, the deal with the devil is a metaphor for cashing in the chips now. It's the metaphor for taking the bait. It's the metaphor for you take something, you take the bait, and that bait can be anything. It can be the little pain body attack that you're having. It can be the ego that you're engaging in. It can be the gossip that you're engaging in. It can be anything that takes you away from presence. Anything. And what is it doing? It's taking you out of the flow, and it's putting you in that little side little pocket of water thing that becomes brackish. But you take it in the short version, right? Look at me! Look at me! I'm different from the water. I'm separated from the water. I am unique. I'm special. I'm separate. I'm a little puddle here. Oh wait, it's getting filled up with brackish crap. Can't flow. Access to flow is gone. It's getting fed in. You see what's happening here? This is very, 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 very subtle. What does a virus look like? It has that little spike protein thing, right? It's very, very, very dense energy. Imagine something like, say, unprotected, we'll call it intimacy for our little platform, okay? Unprotected intimacy, okay? Feels really good. Or imagine things like just taking something, like just something like say drugs, right? Heroin. Present energy, the energy creation, you've got to open up wide in the like this, okay? That's why you'll see people that are tapped in. You can see it in the pupils. You will see what the pupils look like. I already know where you're at by looking at you in the eye. I know your development by looking in the eye. Because what happens is in the eyes, perception's opening up. So because that energy is so diffuse and you can only receive it in a state of surrender, then what happens is you go in that surrendered state and it infuses you. But when you're in this dense mental state, you need something dense like a heroin needle, or dense like maybe hooking up with some random who knows who that you took home without a condom. And what winds up happening is you're like, right? Because you can only, it's like the membrane that's on you is so dense and thick that you need something almost like a spike protein, like a needle, and it's like, oh, it feels good, it feels good. And it's the metaphor of the camel that says, can I put my head in the tent? Just my nose in the tent? Just my head in the tent? Just my neck in the tent? My whole body in the tent? Now you got some crapping camel sitting in there, right? It's these little baby steps. Say the word baby stepping. You get baby stepped into this. Baby stepped. And the funny thing is, like, in my view, these are the kind of things that should be taught. But you know what's scary about it? If this were mainstream, they'll ruin it anyway, because they ruin everything. So they'll take this and use it to shame people. Like, say this was taught in schools, then the kids at school will be like, you're doing the parasite. Like, and it'll get so weird. Although look at all the weird stuff that's there now too. So what's funny is even beautiful teachings get reinterpreted. They get taken over by people in an establishment. Say that what we talked about here is more mainstream. Then the establishment takes it over, makes it weird, use it for shame, use it to judge, use it as another stick to bash people over the head with, and then what winds up happening is it kills the original message. And so these beautiful messages just wind up getting killed and killed and killed and killed because they're cut out of context, they're clickbaited and rearranged and strawmanned. It's a little bit abstract. If what we're talking about here is abstract, you have to open your mind to see it. It's a lot easier to say, look at this. Look, this is real. What, the parasite? That's real. Like, let's just talk about this now. Are we good? That's the deception. So this basic idea that yes, physical reality is real. We're here. And this is our chance. This is the test. But we also want to realize the bigger picture. So you don't want to be so much in woo-woo land that this is all that you think about. But this is what? What is it called? It starts with F. What is it called?
Foundational.
You got it. What is it called?
Foundational.
What is it called?
Foundational.
Okay, so you go back to this, right? What Eckhart Tolle says. Your first purpose is to be present. Your second purpose is what you do from there. Stay tapped in and then go from there. Otherwise, whatever you're doing, here's the key. When you're not, you'll find that what you're doing is just adding to pain. It's just adding to the system. It's not doing anything. There's no point to it. Think of all these little tiny short-term gratifications that you've had. Where does it even go? Where does it even go? It's just gone. It's the land of lost socks. It has no meaning. So this is why you've seen me get a lot more connected to nature, spending time with family, wanting to add value, want to go out and tour and get out there, because I try to aim for things that have real meaning and real staying power. I look to create moments in my life that are truly memorable, not just another day sitting in my house doing this kind of blur of just grinding it out. But sometimes you have to do that too, and I'll go back and I do that too at times too, because that's just part of life, right? It's like you gotta go take a crap, or you gotta go to sleep, or whatever, right? It's just part of life. But it shouldn't be the goal in itself. So that is where the real win comes from. It's not these abstractions of the mind that snuff you out. It's about seeing what is your real purpose, connecting that and getting in that intuition, but also talking to friends about it and things like that, and then moving through there. And then what happens is that purpose, what it does is it connects you to that higher will. It connects you to that discernment. It connects you to that independent access to flow. Because you'll get it to where you're running a business and you're so mad all the time because it's just so difficult and frustrating that the only way that you can get through it is just to be very mentally level. Like ironically, it is through a stressful business or learning social skills or things like that that it actually tests you. It's real life test. And then what happens, you actually get more spiritual from that. But it depends if you're doing so out of attachment and fulfillment of ego, or if you're doing it to reinforce that you are the witness, and to reinforce that you love the process itself, and to reinforce that access to flow. So it depends where you're doing it from. So that is why I wanted to get you out here these couple of days. And we've gone through a lot of very practical things. We've gone through tactical things. We've gone through step-by-step things. And sometimes just for a little fun at the end of the night, I just figure for like the couple people that are left that decided to like be exhausted tomorrow for work, because you're hardcore, I just save a little treat for you. Just something a little different. So this is what I deeply believe, and my beliefs and what I'm learning is iterating with time, and it will continue to iterate with time. And these are things that I've come through a lot of trial and error, and that's what I encourage you to do too. So we've had a beautiful, beautiful couple days together. I've been so excited to get out here, and I've really enjoyed the city. I've enjoyed all of you. You've all added a lot of energy to my life, and we'll wrap it up. I want to thank you for being here, and I want to wrap it up. Thank you so much for staying here late and going through this.